All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary, and I'm here with my beautiful wife. Say hi, boo.
Hi everyone, I'm AKDI and I'm from Turkey and we're gonna review this movie today.
Let's go. Today we are doing a fan request, a long requested film. Apologies to my guy who requested this a long time ago, but we didn't get to it. This is Death by Temptation, a 1990 black horror film directed by James Bond III. I believe this is one of his only films. Like, he hasn't done that much work, right?
Yeah, this is the only film that he directed, wrote, and acted in it. But other than that, he acted in like one more movie and
Hmm.
some like around 10 TV like episodes, TV
Yeah.
series episodes.
I do think it's a shame that he only got to make this one film because he obviously had a lot of talent and promise. And with a bigger budget and more experience, he could have made some really great films.
Definitely, I agree because I think he has like a really cinematical eye, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. And he has like this talent of making stuff fun, but also like conveying relatable messages,
Hmm.
especially to like Black Americans.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it's like he could have been Jordan Peele before Peele.
Exactly.
Yeah, he could have made Get Out in like 1995 or something.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's potential.
Yeah, there was a lot of potential. But hey, the movie business is hard. Making movies is hard. And it's probably a passion that you have to just have for it, because there's probably a lot of rejection in that industry, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. And like I don't know, especially like during that time, 90s.
Mm,
Yeah, it's like it's kind of hard to get a good budget or I don't know, find good actors and stuff like that because there isn't like social media and all of this like I don't know, um like what do you say? All of these like different things that you can access.
yeah. I mean, Spike Lee could barely get it done, Spike Lee
Yeah.
during this time was killing it. And even he was having trouble getting funding for films like Malcolm X and other stuff he was trying to do. And there weren't that many black directors, like, making their mark. But glad to know that this film has like a cult following, because I would have never heard about this film or much less watched it unless somebody suggested it to me. How about
Mm.
you?
Yeah, definitely did not know this movie existed, and I feel like I've heard the name. Was this like a name of a band or like a song?
Well, there is a famous record label called Def Jam.
I mean, no, not that, but I don't know. I feel like name was familiar, but definitely didn't know what it was or like what it was about and stuff like that. So, thank you for the recommendation. I actually really like this movie.
Yeah, and I didn't expect it because I'm usually turned off by early 90s movies, 80s movies, unless it's like Star Wars. It's hard for me to watch anything from that era, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I was like that too, but I think it's growing on me. Like I think I'm starting to love it and I texted you like before um we did the live and I think I'm slowly getting addicted to like early contemporary black horror movies.
Okay, that's such a very specific genre. That's like 15 movies.
Yes, because it's like, it's uh, a bit, it has humor, it
Hmm.
has horror, which are the
Hmm.
two things that I like. But it also, I feel like, has social commentary and like, not in a way like you said it on your nose, like on the nose. It's
Hmm.
not like very explicit, like, I don't know, like in Spike Lee's movies, where it's
Yeah,
more like on the forefront.
yeah.
But here, like, you have to sort of make that connection yourself, which I like.
Yeah, yeah. It seems like, black horror has that ability to have social commentary in it, but also a little bit of humor and just ways of relating different things that can be scary in life. Because in some ways, the Black American experience is sort of a horror show, or it's a surreal experience. So there's so much to draw from the life of the creator of black horror into the film that other directors or other writers might not see. And I feel like with these early 90s black horror films, they're very black and they feel black, unlike a lot of the modern like black horror films that feel almost like white and feel like they're just trying to copy the success of Get Out. You know what I mean? Because if we take a step back, Get Out is a black film, but it does have a lot of like whiteness to it, right? Like you don't have like the slang in this film where it's like, "Girl, you got a nuclear booty," you know what I mean? Or like certain things that people say and do, even in the title, "Death by Temptation." That's like black as hell. Like you know what you're getting into, and like a lot of modern black horror films, at least from the Peel, family tree, they feel more, corporate black than black black. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I don't know, like I think also like a lot of modern black horror movies and just black movies in general either like make fun of stereotypes or try to like avoid black stereotypes and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But in this movie, it's like there isn't that sort of force, you know?
Hmm.
It's just like naturally not stereotypical with any of the characters, but it's like just also naturally very black, if that
Yeah,
makes sense. And that's like a very warm feeling, you know, because in modern like black horror movies, you feel that commentary on stereotype. So yeah, in this one, you don't feel that.
yeah. But it's also something to notice that in this film there are no white people, and this film feels like it's free of the white gaze. You know,
Yeah.
not the white gaze, but the white looks, the white perspective, the white judgment. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's true. Like, no character gets really into a conversation with a white person.
Yeah, there are no white people if you look at it like
Yeah.
this. It's not one, not one. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about in this film, even though it does have sort of a simple plot. There's a lot of subplots in it. But I think the best way to break down this film would be by reading a review of that time. So Acti did a bit of uh, digging before we started this live stream, and she found this review from 1990 from the Washington Post or New York Times or something. Where is it from?
Yeah, Washington Post.
All right, so we're Acti is going to do the honors of like reading it to us, and then we're going to like just basically discuss the different parts of the film. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, so this is a review by Richard Harrington. And yeah, let's start. So, genre films are often the last refuge of the hack director, but once in a while they can be the spawning ground for a major new talent. A few years ago, Catherine Bigelow brought new blood to the vampire thriller with Near Dark, and James Bond III has done the same with Death by Temptation, a contemporary black horror film that's light years ahead of Blackula and Scream Blackula Scream, which established this genre offshoot in the very early 70s. There are some familiar conventions, but Bond brings to depth and emotional detail generally absent from such films. He has an advantage since he not only directed but also wrote the script and stars as Joel, a divinity student from quiet North Carolina town who experiences some last minute doubts about his calling. You have any comments?
I've never seen Blackula, but I did see Bones. And when Acti said, "Hey, you want to watch Blackula?" I was thinking of the Snoop Dogg film in like the early 2000s, where Snoop plays like a a ghetto vampire. It's pretty funny, but that's all I gotta say.
Okay, were you surprised to find that Joel was the director?
Yeah, because I really thought James Bond III was the first guy in the film. When the film opens up, there's this guy who's like a playboy talking on the phone to his different girls that he meets, and he's a bartender at the bar, and he meets this beautiful girl who says like, "Come back to my house," and then he lays down on the bed and tries to have sex with her, but then she starts, clawing at him, attacking him, and stuff like that. Then he runs
Yeah.
through the house and gets basically eaten, and the blood pours on the floor under the door and stuff like that. And I thought that was James Bond III. And I was like, oh, this director is really brave. He's running through the house just showing his penis, about to get eaten, killed in the first 5 minutes. Oh, he don't really want the spotlight. Okay. But
Yeah, I
no.
mean, when your name is James Bond the Third, you expect that person to be a bit like of a player looking guy.
Yeah. That's
And
what I was
like
really thinking.
Joel is very much like he looks like a nerd,
Yeah, he,
basically.
he looks like a hobbit.
Yeah. Um that's funny. Okay. So let's continue then.
Hmm.
Joel, sensing he's at a crossroads, heads for New York to visit his childhood friend Kay, which is Kadeem Hardison of a different world. Kay, an actor, encourages the straight arrow Joel to loosen up, taking him to a slick uptown bar whose female patrons expound every ridiculous macho pickup line imaginable, generally to no effect on the quite wise by now female patrons. Anything that you
No,
want to?
no,
Okay.
just run through it.
Okay. The exception is a beautiful woman, Cynthia Bond, who seems to have no trouble picking up men, even though they're never seen after they date her. Early on, the director lets viewers in on the obvious. This temptress is a devil, a succubus who lures men into her bed, makes love, and kills them, usually somewhat graphically. Joel soon becomes her target, apparently because of both his intense innocence and his calling. It doesn't take Kay long to realize what's going on, and he enlists the help of Dougie, which is played by Bill Nunn, a barfly who turns out to be an undercover cop long on the Temptress's trail.
All right, barfly, by the way.
Barfly, sorry.
Yeah, somebody who just hangs out at the bar all day.
Okay, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. On the surface, this is an ordinary vampire plot, though told from a black perspective and in culturally credible terms. It's below the surface that Bond shines. Except for the occasional gutting and the inevitable confrontation, Death moves at a languid pace that leaves plenty of room for personal connections. The deepest is between country boy Joel and city wise Kay. In their frequent conversations, one senses small town roots, friendship, competition, and genuine emotion. In fact, some of the film's best moments are sketched out in their casual discussions about faith, urban life, and ordinary values. Both Joel and Kay are immensely likable characters, and not surprisingly, neither genre nor racial stereotypes.
That's one of the beautiful things about this film, like we said before. No racial stereotypes, and the characters are really likable. And we'll talk about this more, but I think all the acting was generally good,
Yeah.
especially from the succubus, especially from Kay, especially from the cop Dougie. Everybody sort of held it down with the acting.
Yeah, it was all of the acting was really good, like you said, and I'm kind of surprised that like none of them became, big stars.
Well, I think
Because I
Cynthia
feel like,
Bond
I
was kind
mean,
of big.
who?
I think Cynthia Bond, the girl who played the Temptress, she kind of with
Yeah,
the
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, I don't know her like filmography, but yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And let's see. Even the Temptress moves beyond cliche. Cynthia Bond, a stage actress in her first film role, floats between ice cool and ember hot. Beautiful, dangerous, sweet, and slyly attentive, she's never less than seductive. If the devil was looking for someone whose sexuality could hold morality hostage, he found the right vehicle. In it's in his handling of actors, including himself, that James Bond III shows great promise. He pulls unexpected things out of them in such an undemanding context, though it helps that they are all good actors to begin with, and that he has given them credible dialogue in which to work. Additionally, Death is beautifully photographed by Ernest Dickerson, who is best known for his long term association with Spike Lee. There are some weaknesses, including the contemporary For Now soundtrack and the use of singers Freddie Jackson and Melba Moore in minor roles. Def is hardly in the first film to promote itself through pop cameos and songs that are not essential to the plot, but in most cases, such films lack the substance Def consciously aims for. Also, it succumbs to the obligatory loop ending that is both ironic and a setup for a sequel.
Yeah, that is a bit true. You know, like the music in this film, they should. It's funny how the guy who's writing this review is like, "Oh yeah, playing the saxophone in a smoky room while two people make love. That's gonna sound really bad." And some of the music was like, "I'm hungry for you," like that over the top '80s soul. Yeah, that was kind of bad. What do you think?
I like the music. I
You
don't
like the
know.
music?
I like it, and maybe it's because I enjoy old songs. But I don't know. Like I thought it being on the nose, like I'm hungry while she's about to eat the guy.
Uh huh.
or something like that, or kill the guy. I
Yeah.
thought that was like sort of funny. Like no, it was like good music plus it was like kind of funny. I don't know.
But are you laughing with it or laughing at it? Because that's what matters, I would say.
I mean, I'm laughing at it, but that doesn't take away the intention of like humor.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cuz like some comedies are based on like you laughing at it, not with it.
To be fair, the saxophone scene where Kay is imagining sleeping with the temptress, that was a dream, right? Or that was a
Yeah.
wet dream or whatever. So, of course, that didn't actually happen. But the way it's placed in the film, it does date this film a bit. Like, you're going to watch this, and aside from the fashion, aside from the clothes, you're going to be like, oh, this music really puts it in the 90s.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't bothered by the soundtrack. But maybe that's just me.
All right. All right. Go ahead.
And let me continue. We have one more paragraph. The film's budget limitations are also apparent not only in the use of a very small cast, but also in the occasional plot loopholes. As for the graphic climaxes, several are quite effective, including an update on the TV dinner, while others are hokum hum. There's enough action to meet fans' expectations, but the best shock is the one of discovery. Def is not a masterwork, but it's definitely the work of a major director in progress. It's both important and incidental that Bond is black, as are most of the crew and all of the cast. As the Hudlin brothers did in House Party, Bond has taken a tired genre and made it fresh. Better yet, he's given substantial exposure to some very talented people, both in front of and behind the camera, people all too often stereotyped by the white film establishment.
Right, right, right. So there's a lot that I actually really liked about this film. One of the themes that I caught in this film is like the commentary on the AIDS epidemic and how sex in the black community has, sort of caused this epidemic to fester, right? Because people having unprotected sex, people trying to live this player lifestyle has caused a lot of trauma to our people. So there was a scene when, the succubus is laying down with this guy named Norman, and then she tells Norman, I put something in you that's going to grow and fester. And Norman starts breaking down, and she says, go and give it to your wife or something like that. So I caught that. There's also like a lot of comedy in this film that I really like. Like maybe some stuff that was not intentionally supposed to be funny. Like the beginning opening scene, the bartender is like, go on, girl, just get an abortion. I'll send you the money in the mail. And then the next scene, he's talking to another girl. It's like, I know you hot in the panties or something like that. There's so many like funny ass moments when it comes to the dialogue, especially from Doug, the cop who's sitting at the bar, and yeah, he's just doing the wildest pickup lines you've ever seen, talking about, I'm Bruce Lee's trainer, I'm a karate doctor, stuff like that. Um, yeah, those are what I really liked about the film. Anything you want to say?
I mean, yeah, like watching those guys trying to pick up either the temptress or other woman, it was just like funny. And also, like, you can see the period also from those lines as well, because I don't know, not a lot of men will use those lines today, especially because they're like not, they're kind of sexist, but then they're also like ridiculous, and yeah, I mean they're old fashioned, but it was definitely like funny, and a lot of like humor came from that part of the
Mm,
movie,
yeah.
just like this, you know, I don't know, like this attempt by men to lure women and sleep with them
Mm,
without any like need for romance or emotional connection, whatnot.
right. That's a
So
tale. That's a tale as old as time. Men have been
yeah.
trying to bed women without any commitment.
Yeah, so there was definitely like some social commentary on that as well. Like in some ways, I don't know, like Temptress, was she a feminist icon? I don't know. Maybe she
That
was.
I would. I think that's one of the issues with the film is that they don't give her any sort of reason for what she's doing, but you understand what the reason is as the watcher, right? Because there's never that moment where she says, "You guys do this to women and that to women, and I'm here for revenge." It's more like she's just an evil spirit out to f guys over. So
I mean, she doesn't have a motive because she's the devil. Like this is her nature basically. like, I don't know, why is cat a cat? Because she's a cat. It's a cat. So it's like, you know, she's the devil, and that's
Right.
like how she lives her life. And she doesn't have a motive in the movie, but you can also assume that it's easy for her to have men as her target because men are always trying to pick her up because she's a beautiful woman.
Right, right. There's more I want to say about that, but I'm going to go to the comments real quick. Otto, the guy who suggested this film, is leaving a bunch of interesting comments. Let's read them. He said, I like the music too, except for some scenes. This movie is a horror comedy similar to Evil Dead 2 by Sami Raimi. There's also a tone of irony and even satire throughout the whole picture. What do you think about that part, the satire and irony? Do you think, I didn't pick up satire, but I did catch some ironic parts, but what do you think?
I mean, maybe there's some satire when it comes to like religious themes. I'm not sure though, because it's hard to tell because it's like an old movie, and I don't know like if the director is a religious person or not. So I'm not sure about that part, but yeah, there's definitely like some irony in there,
Mhm.
which makes the movie like more interesting because then you try to dig up on those things.
Right, right, right. Now, I think some of the irony of the film is like, Kay is supposed to be the guy who's hip to girls and knows women and stuff like that, but he wasn't able to pick up very quickly that Temptress is actually a succubus, right? And then he ends up falling victim to her and losing his life because of that. Yeah, I liked the twist, by the way. I don't know if this is a good time to mention it, but I liked the twist of Doug not just being some rando at the bar, but actually a cop undercover. And I liked how that film put that in there. So I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely, I like that too.
All right.
But like it's also funny that, or maybe ironic, I don't know, or it's a satire that he was there for a job, right, in the
Mm-hmm.
bar, but he was at the same time trying to pick up women as part of his like daily, you know, work hours.
Is a dirty cop, dirty Mac and dirty cop.
Yeah.
All right. Otto then left another comment. He said, I think this movie expresses Bond's internal anxieties. He was also the last in line in real life. And in my opinion, he is a gay or bi man who struggled with his sexuality and faith. Very, very interesting. So at the end of the film, they do say, I dedicate this film to James Bond the first and the second. And then there's a quote that I believe his father said that James Bond the third, now you're the last one. And in this entire film, Joel, who is played by James Bond III, is the last of his line of spiritual men. And the devil, actually, the succubus, came to his father and killed him in the beginning of the film because his father was like driving at night and his wife said, You're about to hit a woman, because this woman in black was standing in the middle of the street, and that caused his father to hit a tree and die. And since then, Joel has been haunted by this spirit and stuff like that. So very, very interesting. What do you think about that? The theory that James Bond might have been talking about his sexuality in this film.
Mm. I'm not sure. I don't know because I didn't get those vibes when I was watching. But I mean, I can see more of like the latter thing he said, or like the first thing about like his inner conflict,
Mhm.
maybe between like being like a very truly good religious man and then being like this, you know, man who's free with his sexuality and tries to pick up women and whatnot.
Mhm.
Maybe that part, but I don't know, maybe the fact that he wasn't actually tempted, was it because of his religion actually, or was it because he was in the closet?
Mm.
I don't know.
Mm.
Maybe there's something there. And if it's like that, it's like very deep then.
Right. I don't know that much about James Bond III to speculate on his sexuality, but I do know that in the black community, there are a lot of closeted gay men who are involved in the church, the choir director, the sometimes even the pastor or just the general parishioners. So that could be a thing, right? And religion, at least, for historically has been a big part of the black community. So I would say, it's interesting that James Bond or people could look at this film and see this, but I don't know enough about him to guess that about him, right? I'm
Yeah.
just going to take the film for what it says. Go ahead.
I mean, going off from the movie, like he says he's at a crossroads and he doesn't know what to do to his grandma, right?
Hmm.
And that's why his initial like that's why he initially decides to go to New York. And maybe like in the movie he wasn't feeling um attracted to women at all, and maybe this was supposed to be a temptation for him, but it wasn't.
Mm.
So it could be a way of himself like just questioning that and forcing himself to be attracted to women or something. I
Yeah,
don't know. And
I can.
maybe the reason why he was attracted to Temptress was because he seemed so innocent to him.
Hmm. I mean, I think it's kind of rude a bit to guess like, oh, James Bond the third might be gay, and in this film he's talking about his struggles with his attraction or non-attraction to women, because in this film there is a part where a gay character is killed by the succubus, and that's sort of the commentary the film has to give about that. Because if we think about it, all the men that the succubus killed were different types of guys. One guy was a playboy that she killed at the very beginning. The second guy was the man who cheats on his wife, and the third guy is the down low man, the guy who sleeps with men on the side and then goes back to his wife or other women and stuff like that. And a lot of women complain that these type of men are the worst type of men out there, and that's who the succubus was targeting. And her final target was Joel. You get what I'm saying? So I think, speculating that Joel wasn't or was not attracted to the succubus but was trying to force himself to be, I think that's reading into it a bit too much, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going off of the comments that Otto's nuts made, and yeah, I don't know. Of course, we don't know like James Bond the third, so it's unfair to comment that he's gay or something. But also, if you think about it, the closeted guy who got killed,
Hmm.
he walked to his own death by being closeted. Like if he was out and he was being with men, he would have never actually like get tempted by the temptress.
Right. But if we look at the temptress as a symbol for HIV, then it's sort of like, okay, this is what you deserve for living that lifestyle too. Because think about it, we're to some degree, if you're sympathetic to the temptress, you're like, oh yeah, the playboy who just told his girlfriend to have an abortion, that nigga needs to die. Oh yeah, the guy who's trying to cheat on his wife, that nigga needs to die. Okay, the guy who's a single guy but secretly wants to sleep with men too, that nigga needs to die too. That's sort of like what the film is saying. And if the temptress is supposed to show the worst things that can happen to those types of people, HIV is like, one of those things that happens to gay people, unfortunately. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, that makes sense. I don't think like the temptress is only a symbol for HIV, but it was definitely a part of her symbolic, image.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Otto was really going in on the narrative that Joel is gay because his other comment, his gay sexuality is also anxiety that relates to ending his bloodline. I think you're reading a lot into it. I don't get this. I think you would have to really walk into the film thinking that Joel is gay or secretly gay to really come to that conclusion, because I it shows in the film he is attracted to the temptress. Like he almost dies because he was about to sleep with her, right? So I don't know. You want to say anything?
Yeah, no, because I don't know. Like we have to do research, and even doing research if someone is gay or not and stuff like that feels kind of wrong.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna read some of other Otto's because Otto's given a lot of good commentary. He says, "I don't think the succubus is a she. She's either male or genderless." Okay. I think that might be true. I think because she's a demon, she could grow like a demon cock if she needed to. And I think that's how she penetrated the gay guy. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, that was insane. That was an insane scene. Yeah, I mean, she's kind of genderless because she turns into a monster as well,
Yeah.
which seems like it doesn't have a gender. It's just like a monster.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, he also talked about how Doug was playing jokes on the audience the entire time, and I actually like that because there's like this. I forgot the name of it, but in film or in stories, there's this trope of like the person who you think is the idiot is actually the master the entire time. And I like how, turning Doug, the guy who just sits at the bar and spits horrible game at women, ends up becoming like one of the guys who ends up solving the case and letting you know like there's a deeper story here. Very interesting. What do you think?
But like, I like that, yes. But also at the end, Dougie is the person who turns into the next evil or devil or
Hmm.
whatever. And now the devil is not a woman; he's a man. So what is he gonna do? And we see Doug like using the same pickup line that the temptress used in the beginning about like the lighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, what does that say? Then that means, okay, it's not really only about a woman hunting down men, but
Hmm.
it's a more general like commentary on general temptations of life and general evils of life.
Right. But he becomes the man that's going to trick women into having sex with him, and then he kills them. And I feel like, that's the fault of this film because in the inverse, it doesn't really work. You know what I mean? Like, there's men who tempt women to sleep with them and kill them in the real world, right? And that's a very common thing, unfortunately, that happens to women. But, like, the same sort of violence doesn't happen to men as much. And just to be frank and real, like women get a lot more shit from us guys than we get from y'all. You get what I'm saying? Like the only
Yeah.
time men get shit from women is when we get y'all pregnant and this is the wrong person to nut in. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I mean, I understand, of course, but at the same time, like, let's say, for example, a woman who wants to cheat on her husband, is as guilty as like the first one of the first victims that
Hmm.
was trying to cheat on, his wife.
Hmm.
So, like, I don't know, we don't see like his victims, of course, the new devil's victims, but
Right.
there could be women who might deserve this type of ending, but it's less likelier than men, I
Like the
guess.
like the only way it could work is like Doug is now the temptress or the tempter, whatever, but he's really rich. So like a girl is like there with her boyfriend, but she leaves with Doug because he pulls up in a Ferrari, and then he like I don't know kills her that way or something. But like, are you saying like women wanting dick is just as much as like how men do the wildest stuff to get some pussy? I find that there's no correlation. You get what I'm saying?
No, no, because usually that's not the case, though sometimes it can be. That's what I'm saying.
Hmm.
Like sometimes there are women who want to take advantage of certain things of a man.
Right, like money
But
most of
it's
the
more
time.
common for men to take advantage of women.
Right, but the women take advantage of men for money a lot of times. Like, let's keep it real. Like, there's 19-year-old sugar baby with a 70-year-old billionaire. Like, we know what the deal is.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. But going back to the film, anything you want to say?
I mean, what I got, like one of the biggest themes that I got was this, I guess, an age old battle between like religion
Hmm.
and like temptations.
Hmm.
And it doesn't even have to be religion, but it's like being good versus being bad,
Hmm.
basically, because essentially everyone wants to be good, right? Everyone wants to be nobody wants to lie, nobody wants to cheat, nobody wants to steal anything, and everyone wants to be healthy, don't want to do things that are bad for you, and etc. But then everyone does those bad things, like everyone makes mistakes, everyone has regrets and stuff like that. So it's like I feel like there was that battle constantly throughout the movie, that like why do we do those things, and I don't know, should there really be a punishment for that? Maybe, because we all do those things, and if we all do those things, then why does religion expects us to be that like perfect human being?
Right. Well, I think the film doesn't really ask that many questions of religion. The movie sort of looks at religion as the cure for our society. Like, we were talking about this before we started the live. Like, by the end of the film, you might look at this and say, "Oh, this is a Christian movie. This is a movie with a Christian message," because it ends with, the succubus about to kill Joel's grandmother, and Joel has to grab the cross or the Bible and put it in the demon's face and say a few words, and then she melts like the Wizard of Oz or something like that. And yeah, it's the movie doesn't really challenge religion; it challenges our desires for sex, for power, for lust, that sort of stuff.
But I think, like, from at least from what I got from the movie was, yes, it can be like a religious propaganda if you look at it that way. But at the same time, I feel like Christianity and the Bible and everything, like, it was also sort of like a symbol, just
Mm,
like how the temptress was. It was a symbol for like just general morality that
mm,
everyone has. It,
right.
like, you don't have to be a Christian to know that you shouldn't cheat on your spouse. So I feel like there was that conflict because also there were two different lifestyles. Like Joel was the lifestyle of a, small town. He probably like is not a big consumer. He's like trying to be nice to everyone. He's not trying to commit any sins and stuff like that. Where you have Kay, his friend, and they
Mm,
were like together in their friendship history before. They
mhm.
probably grew up together or something. But then Kay chose a life of more temptations. He was trying to sleep with women. He was trying to become an actor. He wanted fame and power and whatnot. So like, and in the movie, we can't say one or the other is bad.
Well, the way Kay lives his life is not that bad. Like he's just a normal guy, right? All the other guys who got killed before Kay, we generally dislike them because we only saw one part of their character. The bartender, who's the worst type of playboy, the man who cheats on his wife, right? And yeah, the gay guy. If being gay is a bad thing too, so I mean, Kay is not really that bad of a character, and Joel is seen more as a bit more holy than him, though, because Kay ends up losing his life, but Joel ends up saving the day to some degree.
Yeah, but like, yeah, like you said, we see Kay's lifestyle as normal because that's kind of like the most how most people live their lives, right?
Hmm.
Just like normal and needing some sexuality in their lives or some romance and whatnot. And he doesn't necessarily strike to be a bad guy. He doesn't seem like he has bad habits and stuff like that. But he still has some, things in his life that might be deemed as, I don't know, like a sin, like
Hmm.
drinking
Hmm.
or sleeping around with women, if you
Hmm.
look at from Joel's perspective.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of Kay, what did you think about the scene when they came to Kay's apartment, Joel and Kay, for the first time, and Kay had the tech on the dresser? What did you think about that?
Kay had to what?
Kay had the tech on the dresser.
I don't understand.
The Tech Nine, the semi-automatic rifle, the Uzi,
Oh,
the gun.
okay. Sorry, I have no knowledge of guns. Um, yeah, that was that it was like again a social commentary, I
Mm,
think, because he was saying like, okay, like living in the city is not always so glamorous, it's also dangerous,
hmm,
especially like for me, I live alone and I need to have everything ready and I keep my knives sharp and my guns loaded. He
hmm.
said something like that, which was
Yeah.
like, I was like, damn, like if this is the life that you have to live just to be in a big city and to have your dreams, it's kind of bad.
I'm,
That's what I was thinking, but also at the same time, I was thinking like during that time, was it actually necessary to have those things,
it's
especially
always
as a black
necessary.
American?
And it's always necessary to keep the strap, to keep the tool. So that
No,
was
it's
very
not.
normal. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Especially living anywhere. Like that's how. That's why this film feels so authentic and real. Just for those little moments, like when we were reading that review, like the film didn't need to have that scene, but it was in there for an important reason of bringing this back to reality. And I think that also goes to show like Kay's acknowledgement that the world is dangerous around him, and he does have to be careful. So you're like, okay, isn't just, sleeping with different women and doing crazy stuff out here, reckless. Like he's actually a thoughtful guy. And I think the gun actually shows thoughtfulness of Kay, if that makes sense.
So you're okay with him keeping a gun in his house?
I'm saying that it makes sense in the film, in the story, and the way that it's talked about is shows it shows like some real depth of the character,
Mm,
because it shows that he's just not some playboy asshole, living his high life. Like he knows that there's danger outside, right?
yeah.
But the gun is also a bit silly too, and a bit ironic, because what good is a gun against a demon? You can't shoot the devil. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even carry the gun, really, when he
No.
goes off to fight with the Temptress.
Yeah. 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 There was also another part of the film where they were like, all these murders have happened and they're unsolved, and maybe they were done by supernatural causes. And this is when Doug reveals himself to be a cop, and that he's secretly been watching the temptress at the bar for like months. And while Doug is hollering at every single girl at the bar, telling them they got nuclear booties and he works with Bruce Lee, he never hollers at the temptress, and he tells everybody something's wrong with that bitch. That bitch crazy. Well, when he does reveal himself, he's like, you know what? All these murders have happened, and we don't know why, and it's something supernatural, right? What did you think about that? Because I actually thought that was a bit interesting.
I mean, I didn't really think that deep about it, but now
Hmm.
that you brought it up,
Hmm.
I'm thinking, could there be a symbol there
Hmm.
where, like, oftentimes, especially like in the 90s and
Hmm.
before that, there were crimes committed by like white males
Hmm.
who were overlooked because of the justice system being like biased and
Hmm.
racist. And I'm thinking, okay, now is that like sort of like a symbol of that? But I don't know.
I didn't see it like that, but that is, possibly true. Remember when we did that review of the Baton Rouge documentary, Diamonds in the Dirt, and they made that song about the kids that were disappearing in Atlanta, and
Mm-hmm.
they still don't know where those kids went and who killed those kids or anything like that. You know what I mean? Who knows? It could have been some racist white supremacist or something, but I was thinking like, okay, what if we did look at unsolved murders in a supernatural way? You know what I mean? That is, I don't know. It's just a bit interesting to think about it, because there's a lot of unsolved murders in the world. And what if there actually are demons or ghosts taking lives? I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
I just have very low faith in supernatural things.
Yeah,
And you know where I stand with religion. So, like, it's like I don't already believe in, religion and God and stuff like that. So, how am I supposed to believe in supernatural things?
I got you. I got you. I just thought that was an interesting take to sort of bring it into reality, that all these murders have happened. Who knows where those bodies are or who did it and stuff like that. And I also like the scene when they went to go sit down with the tarot card lady. Doug and Kay go to this woman who is like, saying like
Madame
this.
Sonia.
Madame Sonia, yeah, they sit down with this basically old Creole woman who's like reading cards, and is like, "You've unlocked a temptress, the devil. She won't stop until she destroys the last holy man on earth." And then, and then at the same time, the temptress and Joel are out on a date, and this girl is like, "Oh, excuse me, I have to go to the bathroom." And then she looks in the mirror and possesses the soul of the tarot card woman. Is like, "Bitch, y'all better stop fucking with me. I'm out here trying to do it." That shit was raw. I don't know why that shit was hilarious, but it was also so raw too. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good too. There's like a lot of different interesting scenes in this movie, and I also did not expect to actually get like scared or disgusted by some of the scenes, because you
Hmm.
know how in like old horror movies, like the blood and the effects are really like weak.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
actually, in this movie, there were moments where I was like, "Oh," or like just scared, and yeah, it was like I think it holds up to an extent.
Yeah. I would say every time she did kill one of the men, it did seem very real and believable. I think, in the opening scene when she's making love to the guy in the shower, and even before that, like he is trying to kiss her, but she doesn't want to kiss him and stuff like that. And then she ties a belt around his neck, and like, they're like playing like, dominatrix type of stuff, type of games. It feels like American Psycho, but reverse. You know what I mean? Like the female American Psycho, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. And then when they're making love in the shower, and the water turns into blood. That was just wild. That was wild. And yeah, chasing the man down through the house. That was a very believable scene. Go
yeah.
ahead.
What did you think about the television swelling up K and then barfing blood.
That was a bit okay, that part was a bit sad for me, but also a bit weird because there had been no part of the film that showed that the succubus could possess a TV or something like that. And I was kind of sad to see Kay die because I wanted him to live. He was generally like one of my favorite characters in the film. He did all the right
Mm,
things. He was cool. But I did like at the end, Kay was sort of trapped in the TV, and there's this part where his face comes out of the screen and it screams for like help. But I think that scene was done because Kay wanted to be an actor, and all he wanted to do was be on TV. So he sort of gets
mm,
eaten by his temptation, his desire to be famous. That's how I interpreted it. But
mm.
what did you think about that scene? I guess.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I didn't think that it was because he wanted to be an actor, which is
Hmm.
a really good take, and that is probably why it was done like that. And I mean, I thought it was a bit weird too, but it did have like this effect where I felt, disgusted and bad.
Hmm.
Like it was somewhat scary.
Hmm.
And what did you think? Like, because on his TV there was the U.S. president then, right?
Reagan.
Reagan. Like,
Yeah.
why was that there? Because I don't know a lot about Reagan, so I wanted to hear like why was that put
Yeah.
there?
I don't know, man. Reagan was a very popular Republican president. Basically, he is like the definition of like conservative America. I'm sure my guy Avery Adams is in here. I'm sure he has a lot of positive things to say about Reagan. But most black people really don't fuck with Reagan because he basically flooded the communities with crack. He made the AIDS epidemic even worse by pretending like it didn't exist, or even worse, because it was killing mostly gay people and minorities. He thought, well, I don't see a problem here. Uh, yeah, he also had Alzheimer's. So, like, while people are talking about, like, oh, Sleepy Joe this, Sleepy Joe that, Reagan literally didn't know where he was half the time. So, he's a pretty funny guy, but he was a very important president. And yeah, basically, I think Reagan was on top of the TV because I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. It was just
I
sort of
mean,
there. Yeah, it was just
yeah,
sort of
but
there.
like it was very visible.
Hmm.
And I think he does refer to Reagan. Kay does refer to Reagan when they are talking about guns and stuff,
Hmm.
and he says something like, "This is the reason why I have this,"
Hmm.
or something like that, which I kind of got the sense, okay, like probably this president is not that good of a president.
Yeah.
And also, like when the whole swallowing by the TV scene happened, like Reagan was laughing, like there was laughing sound, effects
Yeah.
of a guy, which was also interesting. And now that you said, okay, maybe he wanted to be famous and he wanted to be an actor, and that's why he got swallowed by the TV.
Hmm.
And we can also say, okay, Hollywood is run by Reagan
Yeah.
or people like Reagan.
Hmm.
And if he wanted to be an actor at the end, he would have to sort of succumb to that sort of power,
You know
if
what's
that makes
crazy about
sense.
that is that Reagan was actually an actor. Before he
Mm,
became president, he was a very famous Hollywood actor. So maybe there is some correlation there to have Reagan on top of the TV and then eating him up. Maybe.
yeah. And I
Maybe.
mean, I really like it. This is why I really liked like James Bond the third.
Hmm.
And he is able to put those like little things on the screen.
There were some interesting shots that James Bond the third decided to do, like in the opening scene, like when the guy is walking to the girl's apartment, they put the camera at a very low angle, almost like on the floor, diagonally looking up at this apartment, this brownstone in New York. And I've never seen an angle like that. That was a very interesting way of doing it because most people would just have the camera set up, you know, shoulder level and have the guy walking up the steps. But it was
Hmm.
interesting to have him go in there. It almost looked like a castle, like you're walking into Dracula's lair or something like that. You get what I'm
Mm,
saying?
yeah, yeah. No, I think like I really enjoyed this movie, and I give that a lot of credit because I didn't really expect to enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Like when you turned it on, I was like, "Oh God, what are we watching now? Like this old
Okay.
movie or something?" But then it really turned out to be entertaining and symbolic.
Okay. Okay. Otto just jumped into the comments. He left a very interesting comment. He said, "Do you know the lesbian movie Jessica's Body with Megan Fox? The creators were inspired by this movie, Death by Temptation. The
Mm.
movie is similar and much less subtle. This movie is a cult movie among LGBTQ community. People in the LGBTQ community can pick up some things better." Okay, if you're talking about Death by Temptation is a LGBTQ cult classic, I can't see it. I
I
don't see it.
I think it's the other movie.
Jessica's Body? Okay. I know Jessica's Body is the movie about this high school hot girl who like picks on all the ugly girls by eating them. No?
I don't know if she's eating them, but she's like killing them.
Uh-huh.
Similar to this one, I think. I didn't watch the movie, but I definitely saw a lot of like scenes from it on social media and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, people like some people really love that movie.
Yeah. Okay, it's called Jennifer's Body, said Avery. Avery jumped into the comments, said it's Jennifer's. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it, and seems like it would possibly be similar. The idea of like a woman with powers that are supernatural, that's taking it out on the world. But back to the topic of the film, though, when it comes to the succubus, right, played by Cynthia Bond, right, Cynthia Bond, right?
Yes.
Cynthia Bond did an amazing job. Like her acting was possibly the best, and especially for a movie that doesn't have a lot of budget, the acting is what sort of brings this film to life. And her ability to be like sexy, seductive, but also like wicked and evil, and do the wild, crazy cackle laugh when she's like tearing a man's flesh from his back. I'm like, yo, that's you got to be a certain level of actress to do that. So hats off to her.
Yeah, definitely her acting was like on point and it was the best in the movie
Hmm.
in my opinion. And yeah, I loved those scenes where she was like faking it to the men she was trying to allure,
Hmm.
especially with Joel. Like she was playing this sort of somewhat religious, maybe, and this very naive, shy woman
Hmm.
character. And then, like, whenever Joel left the room, she turned back into the evil temptress.
Hmm.
And I really loved how quickly she changed her facial expressions. Like, she was smiling and naive, and then she becomes evil. Like, those were just so good.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think it takes for like a woman to be able to access that part of their spirit or soul or intuition or whatever that allows them to be sexy but also like mean? Like
Mm.
as a woman acting, what did she do to get into that mode?
I mean, I have to say, I'm not like by nature, I don't have a bitch face, or I'm not like that, temptress person.
Hmm.
But I do have to say, it's fun to play that role because like I of course I'm not an actor, so I haven't played that role, but to think
Hmm.
of myself like a woman like that sometimes, maybe with some songs that I listen to, and you get into
Hmm.
that mood.
Hmm.
And it's so fun
Hmm.
because most of the time men are in power in this world, right? So
Hmm.
it's fun to be able to have that power to be able to manipulate men,
Hmm.
even though it's a bad thing. It's just like fun. It's
Hmm.
like I don't know how to say, and that's why maybe I one of my like favorite characters are female villains, like Ursula from Little Mermaid. She was like my favorite character when I was a child because it was like I love the way she does not give a fuck.
Right, right. And this woman don't give a fuck either. Like you asked earlier, like is the temptress a feminine icon? Is it because like she's a man eater, but she's also sexy that would make her a feminine icon, or is she not because like she's killing like people unjustly? I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I said that because first of all, like you said, she doesn't care,
Hmm.
and she sort of punishes men
Hmm.
who are just trying to get into a woman's panties
Hmm.
and see her or woman in general as objects
Hmm.
that they can like just attain. And yeah, like the fact that she's able to manipulate men and make men look so stupid,
Hmm.
which like as a woman. I always felt like, okay, I have to have a certain like appeal for men to like me, or I have to be kind and nice, and I shouldn't take things too personal
Hmm.
just because a man is like, I don't know, saying I'm beautiful. You
Hmm.
know, I should take that as a compliment and not like an assault and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Not assault, but not necessarily like he's coming on to me, but that's just a compliment and stuff.
Right, right.
So it's like, as a woman, you always have to have this sort of niceness towards men.
Hmm.
And the fact that she doesn't care about that, or she uses that in order to um, seek revenge, kind of makes her a feminist icon. Maybe a little bit. I'm not sure.
Like bad girl Riri type feminism.
Yeah, I guess. But the thing is, like, okay, the feminism is not hatred for men. So then I don't want to tell that she's a feminist icon,
Right.
because that's like feminazi sort of thing, you know?
Right. But it's like even when she's not nice, like she wasn't nice to the gay guy. Like she like bit his ear off almost and like grabbed the back of his neck when they were at the bar. Like she showed that, her power was really her seductiveness, and it didn't come from being nice. It didn't come from being, uh how can I say this, like servient to men. It came from the power of just being having the pussy. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. She's like an evil Samantha from Sex and the City. Because
Evil
Samantha is
Samantha.
seductive and she uses her sexuality, but in the end, like, sex is what she wants.
Hmm.
So she uses that, and this is like the same but evil, you know?
Hmm.
She wants to kill men, and she uses her sexuality in order to do that.
Right, right, right. Should somebody watch this film and be more sympathetic to Temptress, or should they watch this film and walk away just hating her? Because I feel like the film is definitely sending the message that these sorts of temptations are all flat out wicked and evil and need to be hated. But are we then going to say, okay, these guys who are cheating on their wives and telling girls get an abortion after nutting in them on the first date, like these guys should be around? You get what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, of course they shouldn't do that, but the thing is, we are never able to control that, and that's gonna happen, whatever, even if there was an evil, actually, like devil actually hunting them, there will still be guys who do that and stuff like that. But um, I don't think like her character. I think her character is likable. At least I liked it because I do like villains, especially female villains,
Hmm.
and that's why maybe I liked her.
Hmm.
But what she represents, I think it's more than her being a woman, because we do see her like soul change genders basically at the end, like change bodies. So
Yeah.
I don't think like his role is necessarily stuck to her being a woman,
Right. Right.
which is a good thing because we don't have that sort of Black Widow, manhunter sort of stereotype for women.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that sort of stereotype does exist though, because we do have the idea of the man eater, or that women are the the gates of hell are through a woman's legs or stuff like that. Like these are expressions that have been passed through time. So I do think there is some sort of like stereotype that she's sort of playing into as a woman, as like, okay, yeah, I really am the devil. Yeah, I really am what will lead you to damnation. But you're gonna do it anyway because you really want pussy, you weak man. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the strength of her character, I think, because she doesn't do it because she has a trauma or she was made like that by the society, by the
Hmm.
men, but she does it because she has it and she owns it. And
Okay.
that's why I think makes her character not that stereotype.
Yeah. And that was, one thing that I really wasn't feeling about the film, just how blatantly evil she is. But now that you said it, like, yeah, she is playing into that. She is that. You know what I mean? She doesn't hide it. It is who she is or what she is. Whatever the
Yeah.
hell she is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But would you recommend this film to somebody, or do you think this is very niche?
I do think like, yeah, it's a bit niche,
Mhm.
but I do think whoever watches it can pick up something, or at the very least be entertained by some of the jokes.
Mm,
But honestly, like, to understand some of the jokes, you do have to be very acquainted with American culture, and also like Black American culture. And
yeah,
like, it's old, so then you have to know like certain things in the past
yeah,
that
definitely.
existed in the Black American culture. So it is like, yeah, like if you have no idea about it, then like if my mom watches this movie, she's not gonna understand the jokes. Therefore, like, she's not really gonna enjoy the movie, because humor is one of the strengths of this movie.
Yeah, the humor, especially with Doug. Like, there's scenes where Doug is like sitting at the bar by himself, and you don't know he's sitting by himself, but the camera is close up on his face while he's practicing his pickup lines. And boy, that scene had me dying. And like you said, Acty, like some of this you will only catch if you are a Black American. And I think part of the irony or satire of this film is the pickup macking game culture that we have as Black Americans that I don't know if other cultures have or to the extent that we have it. Like Black American men to some degree are like trained and ready to spit game at the drop of a hat. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
like something that we were just born to do because like we don't have this like I don't, overly machismo culture. Like the machismo among Black men is like against other men, but we don't have that machismo against women per se. Like the way that we were taught to deal with women is through influencing and cajoling and with words. You know what I mean? That's where pimping comes from. That's where macking comes from. Right?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So yeah, there's parts of this film that are just hilarious because of how far they take the game and the macking and how cringe sometimes macking and game can be. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that Turkish men don't have something like this. Like, I'm not saying they don't have a lore or whatever, but I'm just saying this is not like a historical thing that is popular,
Hmm.
even today and stuff. But I do think, like, okay, like, the game has become more universal,
Hmm.
and now like people are telling how to pick up women on YouTube shorts and stuff.
Oh God.
But yeah, I do think that is something like important in, in the Black American men society.
Yeah, but I think Turkish men are like they have game too because remember we watched that Turkish film and the guys were like hollering at every single Russian they saw, and the guys were hanging out the car talking about "I will make you explode like a volcano."
Yeah, it's. I mean, there is that sort of catcalling,
Uh huh.
uh, and especially like towards Russian women today, I guess. Like, and there are jokes that are like, are you cola? Are you Coca Cola? Are you sex? Like, Turkish men not having enough English to have that dialogue and stuff like that. That
Right.
is cringe. But yeah, that is all. I mean, Turkish men kind of have that toxic, macho masculinity
Hmm.
pickup stuff.
Hmm.
Like, they try to pick up women using that. Like,
Yeah.
girl, I'm so jealous of you,
Right.
and you can't go anywhere without me.
Yeah. 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 So it's a bit different. It's a bit different, but
Yeah.
yeah. Otto's dropping some more jewels in the comments. So he says, "Yeah, it is. I found this movie in an LGBTQ podcast. If you're saying this movie in relation to death, I I don't know because I think this film, how it deals with gay people, especially the gay character, is problematic. Because I think, you know, a guy being in the closet about his sexuality is a problem, right? Because like, if you're sleeping with men and women, you should let your partner know, both partners, men and women, that you're sleeping with both, right? Because people have the rights, and it's generally understood, you know, that if you sleep with somebody and they're of the opposite sex, most likely you're going to assume they're heterosexual. So the same way you would want a trans person to identify themselves, a bi person should identify themselves when sleeping with people. But I don't know. What do you think? Am I wrong for that?
I mean, I have never. I don't know if this movie is a gay icon movie and whatever, but I don't know what else to say. I already said like what I thought about this sort
No,
of.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. About the question of like, if you sleep with somebody of the opposite sex and that person is actually sleeping with both genders, should that person identify that to you?
What? Like, okay, that person, should that person say
You
that I'm genderless?
no, you sleep with a man acting,
Yes.
but you don't know that this man also sleeps with other men and also other women. Do you
Okay, so
feel
he's
like
bisexual.
yes, that's what I'm saying. Do you think it's your right or like this person is wrong to sleep with you if they don't tell you that?
I don't think they have to tell me that, but like I do think I should use protection with everybody, not with like just bisexual or gay men and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think they have to tell me that unless we go into that conversation and they like intentionally try to hide it. I think that would be a problem. But if I don't ask and if we never get to that conversation, then what are they supposed to say? By the way, I sleep with both men and women.
Okay, if you were to sleep with a trans person or if you sleep with a man but then you don't know that he is trans, like wouldn't that don't you think you should have the right to know that or no?
Yeah, but it's like if you have, I don't know, phobias or fears about accidentally sleeping with a trans person, then you should bring up the conversation and they should tell you if you do that.
But when you're on a date with somebody or when you're about to lay with somebody, you don't generally assume that, right? And there's people that can hide that very well, right? There's people that got married to trans people and didn't even know.
I mean, the thing is, like, I've heard, like, and I haven't heard personally, but I just saw, like, in videos and interviews and stuff, that most trans people decide to, like, share this information in the very beginning
Hmm.
so that they're accepted fully as who they are.
I see.
So I don't think that's generally the, you know, consensus. And if that's like the thing, maybe they might have like some problems with their sexual identity.
Right, right. I just you and I disagree on this. You're saying that it's not important for somebody to say that's a part of their gender or their sexuality. I think it is, right?
I think
Because
if it's important for you, then ask away. Like,
no, but
why are you afraid? Like that the person is gonna say that they're transsexual or bisexual?
no, no, no. It's
If
the
you
fact
think
that
it's important, you should ask. And
but
that's
how okay, but that often doesn't come up in conversations, right? And that might be a weird thing to bring up. Of course, you should have the right to ask whatever you want to ask on a date or something. But like I said, when you're on a date with a woman, it's generally assumed that she's into men because you're on a date with her. And if you're on a date with a man, vice versa as well. So, like, if you found out that this man was also sleeping with other men, that might change your opinion about him because it's out of the norm and it's abnormal, right? The same thing if, like, a guy told you ahead of time, hey, I got a micro penis. I don't know if you want to continue with this date. You don't want to sit with this guy for the next 2.5 hours hearing about his job and work and family if you know he got that little Peter. You get what I'm saying?
wow. I think that information should be disclosed as well. On behalf of all women,
Uh huh.
do not waste our times. And there are people who will love you for who you are, not because of the size of your dick.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I think you can find a time in a date to ask this question, not like directly, of course, but there is a way, appropriate way to ask this question. I feel like I
Right.
can find an appropriate way to ask this question to a man.
Right, right. Either way, the reason I brought that up is because the way this film deals with its gay character is that they kill him just for the fact that it's implied that he is a gay man or was a gay man who was sleeping with men, but also trying to sleep with women, right? Or whether you calling him gay is wrong, bisexual, whatever, right? I feel like I'm very confused how Otto found this film in an LGBTQ podcast where I assume that they're speaking of this film very highly when I feel like it actually has a lot of, well, some homophobia in it, right? Never mind the fact that it almost blatantly becomes a Christian movie at the end. You get what I'm saying? So,
I don't know about like the that part because I think the real betrayal of that man, of that gay man in the movie, is that he's in the closet and he's using. Of course, being in the closet is not a sin; it's not a fault. But the fact that he's using women and masking himself as someone who's straight is like, you're gay. You're supposed to be like one of our best friends as women. and even you are like taking advantage of us and making us think that we can be with you, etc., etc. And like how are like you're supposed to be our allies, you know, because we
Mhm.
both suffer from straight men. So yeah, I think that's the real like fault in his character, because
Mm.
there are a lot of like gay men who end up marrying women because they want to hide the fact that they're gay, and then they make life hell for those women.
Yes, and that's what I feel like the film is trying to hint at, but I feel like that's problematic in and of itself, right? Because like
Why?
gay men are not that big of a problem to straight women, right? Like gay or bi men are not that big of a deal. Like there's not a bunch of gay guys who are out here. I don't know what's happening in Atlanta, but I don't really think that's that big of a deal. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that's like the '90s mind frame where they were like, "Oh, HIV spread amongst black people because there's a bunch of gay black guys who are secretly sleeping with women," right? But I don't think it was that big of a deal, honestly.
I
Like,
mean,
go ahead.
if you put AIDS and HIV into this, it I think it becomes a bigger deal, because why are you giving straight women HIV and AIDS when you're not even attracted to them? Like, come on.
Okay. All right, all right. Anyway, we got a bunch of interesting comments. Hold up, hold up. There's a bunch of stuff here.
Okay,
Uh,
I have to go to class in 20 minutes.
All right, no problem. We're gonna
Okay.
blitz through. All right. Otto said the cinematography was super creative, similar to Suspiria, the original, not the remake. You remember Suspiria? We watched that film.
Yeah.
Horrible, wasn't it?
Uh yeah, it was definitely very confusing.
Very confusing, very bad. Uh, Otto then says, "Was Bond's character from the South? I like the contrast with his urban friend. Yeah, he was from North Carolina, and one of the funniest scenes in the film is when Joel is taking the bus from North Carolina to New York, and he has his nose and hands up on the glass of the Greyhound bus, looking as the world passes by, talking like, I can't believe I's leaving the South. Oh, where's we going?" That was so funny. It was one of the funniest scenes I've ever seen. Hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, that was very exaggerated, but I think it fits the movie, and also his acting was good as well.
Yeah. Nelson Moreno jumped in. He said, "Didn't I recommend this movie?" Maybe you did, but whoever Otto is, I don't know if Otto is your friend, but Otto is the
He
one.
threatened to kidnap me and start the new Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, man. He threatened to fuck my wife if I didn't review
No.
this film. That's crazy. Does that make me a cuck because I
He
under
didn't
threat?
say he was gonna fuck me. Stop it. He said he's going to kidnap me.
He said he was going to kid. What do you think is going to happen if a man kidnaps you, acting?
I don't know. I
All right.
like to think on the positive side.
Okay. All right. Anyway, Otto then said, "Please review House of the Dragon, just 10 episodes." I think that's Game of Thrones, and I've never liked Game of Thrones. I
I
never
tried
watched
to
it.
watch it, and I only watched like the first season.
Yeah. Uh, so going to the next comment, Avery says, "Autobots assemble! People should let people know they are a transformer." I don't like the term transformer, but I do think people should. People should definitely let somebody know if they're trans. You know, a transformer is not that bad. It's not that bad.
Oh no, it's bad. It's
Uh,
bad.
okay. The Christian stuff in the end is supposed to be a joke. It's turned up to 11. It's ridiculous. Otto, I think you're reading into it, man. I feel like you've watched this film maybe more than a few times and you've like maybe twisted it a bit because I feel like it's right on brand and it's not an exaggeration. I mean, it is a bit silly that grandma tries to save Joel and bursts into the room and throws like her big ass purse and says, "Get off of my baby." Like, yeah, it's a bit much, but I don't know. Do you think it was an exaggeration?
What?
The Christian stuff at the end with the
Oh,
Bible and yeah,
I mean, we saw it going there, so I wasn't shocked. But yeah, like it was cringe from
it
my
was.
perspective, because I already don't believe in Jesus or God. So,
But
yeah.
do you think it was supposed to be a joke? Like James Bond the Third put all that Christian stuff in there as an obvious joke.
I don't think like it was mocking Christianity. I don't think it was a joke, but I do think maybe there was some also social commentary in there as well. Like I do think maybe he might be a Christian and he might be like a dedicated Christian and whatnot, but
Hmm.
he was also make saying that, like, okay, maybe we sometimes take things too literal, or
Hmm.
like too, just we have too much fire
Right,
when
right.
it comes to like Jesus and all this stuff.
Okay. Oh man, these comments are hilarious. I love these comments right now. Keep them coming. Uh, Otto said they don't think it's homophobic per se. They see it as an analogy of struggling with sin. He's a country boy in the city, tempted by repressed desires. Okay, I think that's similar to what you said earlier. No,
Yeah.
no. All right. Otto then said, "I would never touch AKDI or acne. He just recognized her as my queen."
Yay. See, Simon? People can be nice.
Okay. Avery then says, if you kidnap me, you might as well finish the job.
Wow. Wow. Avery.
No, this is crazy. Uh, Otto then said, the Game of Thrones show is 300 years before the actual series, the first one. It's different from Game of Thrones. I guess, man. I mean, it's hard for me to get into that. It's hard for me to even get into Lord of the Rings. So, but
Yeah. I don't think we will do that one. At least
yeah,
not now because we have so many other like requests and stuff, but like give us some other ones, Otto's nuts.
yeah, yeah. But overall, let's wrap up Death by Temptation. What's your overall score for this film?
I really liked it, and I
Hmm.
didn't expect to like it, so I'm
Hmm.
gonna give it a high score of 8.
Eight.
Yes.
Okay. I got to be fair, even though this film has a lot to discuss and a lot of funny moments and interesting themes, I found myself more laughing at it or trying to tolerate it than actually really loving it. I really did like it because it does open up a lot of discussion, but it still has a lot of the things I really dislike. The moralism with Christianity. It's early '90s, so like the graphics and the cameras are very like grainy and stuff like that. But there are some moments that I really do enjoy and I'll never forget, especially with the guy who played Doug, who was also Radio Raheem and Do the Right Thing. I'm gonna give it an honest score, like a real honest score of like a 6.5. Because like if I give it an 8 or something like that, that makes it equal to like American Fiction or Book of Clarence, and I can't do that. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
yeah.
okay. I mean, just giving the time it was shot, I think it's really a good movie,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it still somewhat holds up. Today it's still funny, and the fact that you're laughing at it is probably because of the time
Yeah.
and not like the movie itself. Because imagine watching this in the 90s, going to the theater. I think this would have a good effect.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. There would have been a lot of laugh out loud moments, probably some stuff that really scared you as well. But I
Yeah.
think even for the time it was still probably considered like a lower budget B movie, but
Mm.
just with a black twist.
Yeah, I mean, you got to support the small movies.
Yeah, got to support the brothers, man.
Yeah.
So, shout out to James Bond III for putting together this film. But my honest score has got to be like a 6.5 when I compare it to like other films. That does not mean I would not recommend it. It's just a very niche film that I
Yeah.
think people who are really into black horror and black directors and black ass stories, they'll like it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not for everyone, but if you're into that sort of thing, and if you know black culture from up close, then I think you will enjoy this movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's our review for Death by Temptation. Stay on the lookout for the next review, which will be Pig, featuring Nicolas Cage. And then after that, we're going to do Ex Machina. We're doing like a bunch of fan requests because people think we're only reviewing movies we want. No, these are for the people. So Pig is up next, then Ex Machina. Uh, Otto's Nutsack left a comment and said, do a stream about Trumpy jail. I did a stream on my YouTube channel last night talking about Trump jail. So check that out. It's only about 20 minutes or so. But yeah, anything else you want to say, Acty?
Nope.
All right. All right. Thank you. This has been episode 47 of Simon and Acty Movie Reviews. Y'all stay tuned and peace.